Welcome to 2022. Hope your year has been well so far, and let's hope 2022 is a lot better than 2021 was from an overall perspective. So, first video I'm shooting of the year is a comparison. I just lucked out that I had the Mazda 3 Sport, which is their hatchback, and the all-new Honda Civic Hatchback. So I'm like, you know what? 2022 will be the year of me starting to do comparison videos. So the way I've laid it out is I'm in the Mazda 3 first. And you can tell that because of all the beautiful red leather that Mazda Canada has spec'd this with. So for the Mazda 3, there's 3 engine choices. I don't count one of them as the 2-liter because nobody buys base model things. Right, very few of us buy base model. I'm in the turbo, and that is the 2.5 turbo 4 engine with either 227 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque at 87 octane, or you put the high grade octane in, which is 93, and that will get you 250 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque. As far as driving dynamics go, what I like about the Mazda 3 is it's all-wheel drive, optional all-wheel drive, but this vehicle has it, and you can see all the snow outside. It's been snowing since yesterday evening. It is now Sunday afternoon. So the fact that there's an all-wheel drive option for the Mazda 3 only on the turbo engine is a big perk for me, and just the overall driving dynamics of what Mazda offers really impresses me. It's impressed me during the Generation 1 Mazda 3 I own, the Generation 2, Generation 3 as well. And what we have here, I've always liked the way the Mazda 3s have been engineered as far as driving goes. So your cornering and handling are done so precisely and with ease, and there's just that nice solid connection to the road that you feel. I find the Mazda 3 just does it more than the Civic does. The Civic doesn't do it poorly, it's the Mazda 3 does it exceptionally well. Driving impressions of the Honda Civic are pretty good. There's not a lot to complain about here. Yeah, it's only front-wheel drive, so that's a slight irk, and the automatic transmission is only CVTs, as opposed to Mazda, which has the 6-speed automatic transmission. But the Civic still drives well, and it'd be nice if I could give them even marks, but the Mazda 3 just has a little more on the dynamic side as far as driving impressions go that puts it over the top. Now, for what it's worth, the Civic Hatch does do straightaways very well. Lots of get up and go here, and I know it's only a 1.5 turbo with 180 horse and 177 pound-feet of torque, but it still moves pretty quickly, and the cornering and handling are done respectively. So it's not as if the Mazda wins by a long shot. It's pretty close with driving impressions, and especially with the all-new Civic here, everything's just a little on the lighter side, and where the Civic will win for me, and clearly has won, is in the fuel consumption game. Mazda is at 8.9 liters per 100 kilometers on a 48-liter tank, and the Civic is at 7.1 on a 46-liter tank. So you will go further with a smaller gas tank on the Civic as opposed to the Mazda 3 Sport. And another little piece for what it's worth on fuel consumption, Mazda has if you use 93 octane, you get more power. So if you do want that, it's an additional cost for fuel compared to the Civic, which just runs off 87 octane for everything, which is great for another 1.5 turbo engine, whereas some other turbo engines, the manufacturers require that you use premium fuel. So good job on Honda for that, for getting you further on less. Interesting note here, on the Civic, all trims come in manual. There's only 3, the LX, Sport, and Sport Touring, and almost all the Mazda 3s come in manual, the exception being this one, which is the 2.5 turbo all-wheel drive, which is only 6-speed automatic. But with the Mazda, it's a traditional 6-speed automatic or manual, and with the Civic, it's a 6-speed manual or a CVT. So for me, advantage Mazda. Noise, vibration, and harshness on the Mazda 3 side is very well done. And Mazda's become this premium brand. It's not a regular brand, it's not a luxury brand, but they've really carved out a space of their own in the marketplace, and they're doing it very well. And you'll notice that through a lot of the different materials used throughout the inside and outside of the vehicle. Mazda's just found a way to cut through the noise and find its own lane and just really excel at it. At the interior of the Mazda 3, it has done so well. The minimalism here is remarkable. The big difference here will be your infotainment system, which in the Mazda 3 is pushed back and you use a rotary dial to navigate through it, and the Civic you're going to use your finger because it's a touchscreen. Both have advantages and disadvantages. The big advantage of Mazda here is you don't get fingerprints on the screen, and the big advantage of having a touchscreen itself is you don't have to play around with the rotary dial. You can just look, touch, get what you want, and come back to whatever it is you were doing. Both are easy to navigate and work through. You don't do a lot of digging. The other big difference here is because the Civic's newer, it does offer a fully digital dashboard, whereas the Mazda 3 is a couple of years old, and you have a digital screen in the middle, but you have your big analog dials as far as bookends go. So for me, for the modern world, it's going to be an advantage Honda. Now, the rest of the fit and finish of the inside, it's pretty close because Honda's definitely upped the game with the Civic, and Mazda, yes, is their own premium brand, and you can tell just by the way the fit and finish is here with the red leather, not necessarily because it's red, but just the way it's been laid out, designed, the dashboard, just everything's well laid out, everything's well within reach. The seats are very, very comfortable. And you'll notice with the Civic, it'll have that long honeycomb strip, which is part of their new design language. And Mazda kind of has that now with the honeycomb, but they've got this long pattern that has the slots in it. And it also looks really, really nice. HVAC, I'm going to go for Mazda getting the win here. Just the minimalism is so well executed. Nothing's wrong with Honda's HVAC system. But just I find from a design perspective, if we're going for these two vehicles head to head, the Mazda barely ekes out the win, but they do overall. On the inside of the Civic, it seems to mirror the approach that the Mazda 3 has taken, where it's a lot of minimalism and it's just nice, clean lines. The advantage Honda has here is a fully digital dash, right? An available fully digital dashboard. And whether you like touchscreens or using a rotary controller or something else down here like a touchpad, depends what you like. But if you want touchscreens, then Honda wins hands down. It's not fully piano black, so the fingerprints aren't quite as noticeable as they would be in. So it does have full piano black, but with Mazda, you don't get any fingerprints because it's not a touchscreen. Plus, it's pushed back so far that even if it was an optional touchscreen, kind of like Lexus has, where you can go touchscreen or you can go through the touchpad, there's no chance of fingerprints there at all. But for the Civic, which is what we're in now, because you can see there is no red here as opposed to the Mazda, what the Mazda had, it's straight up, it's just in the middle, it's easy to get to. Right now I'm touching the top of the screen without having to lean forward, so definite advantage there for proper placement. And again, I sit all the way up, I sit all the way back in my seats, so if I can reach it, I think pretty much anybody can reach it. Honda does also offer wireless charging as well as wireless Apple CarPlay, which is a pretty cool move for me, seeing as I use Apple CarPlay. Anything wireless does have a chance of being a little glitchy. It's not a Civic thing, it's just an everything thing. It's a nice and clean design here with the Civic. Love the honeycomb, long strip here. With little joysticks for air direction. The seats get warm really, really fast. Just the overall layout it's well done here. You get the Bose premium audio system here with the Sport Touring. It sounds really good. And the Mazda audio system also sounds really, really sharp and good as well. I'm going to give them a tie on that because I really like the way the audio cuts through, whether it's AM, FM, podcasts, or Spotify. Or even Bluetooth streaming music. It all came out of the speakers very nicely. The steering wheel is nice and not quite thin, but it's got a decent amount of heft to it. Fully heated as opposed to the Mazda, so definite perk and definite win here for the Honda team. 3-stage heated seats, the same thing as you have on the Mazda 3. Overall, the Mazda 3 is going to just barely get the win for this one for me. As far as interior goes, it's just Mazda's pushing to be a premium brand if they're not already. The Civic has, Honda has Acura as their luxury division. So yeah, there's some really nice design elements into the Civic, and it looks really, really sharp, but Mazda wins it just by a little bit here. Wrapping up on the exterior, the Mazda 3 looks really good. It's missing that rear window that a lot of people don't really like all that much, and it's a bit of a sore spot for them. I don't mind that it's missing. I like how Mazda's thought a little differently. Now, compared to the Civic, I like the Civic looks a lot more. It's just a little cleaner, a little crisper. Yes, Mazda's big on minimalism, but the Civic shows us that they're doing the same thing. Not a lot of big flares and huge design lines compared to the last generation Civic. So I will give Honda the win just for the clean lines of design. As far as the front end goes, I'm going to give it to Mazda. I like the way it's been laid out. Again, this is a lot of focus on minimalism and how clean the design lines are, but there are no fog lights with the Mazda 3. It's just that nice clean front end. The LED lights here and the cool turn signals are integrated into the lights. They're not their own separate piece on a different part of the assembly, and I like what Mazda's done here. Civic still looks good. Civic is kind of like a baby Accord in a way, which is a definite plus for me. But I like Mazda's a little bit more. And going around to the rear, I'm going to give it to Mazda as well. It's just those taillights have that really cool texture and pattern to them, where it's just it's got a small tiny cross or a T, or just that nice clean look. Again, nothing wrong with the Civic at all. But even with their new redesign of the Civic, with the rear end, I like Mazda's a little bit better. Fun, interesting point here, both the Civic and the Mazda 3 have similar wipers where the washer fluid comes out of nozzles that are attached to the blade as opposed to being attached to the hood. So very upscale move there. Looks really, really cool. Last thing we're going to look at is cargo space, and with this, the Civic wins because they have 693 liters of cargo space, whereas the Mazda 3 only has 569. So I shouldn't say only. It's still pretty spacious back there for the Mazda 3, but if we're looking at straight numbers and a direct comparison, the Civic will take it. That's going to wrap it up with a comparison between the 2021 Mazda 3 Sport and the all-new 2022 Honda Civic Hatchback. If you've got any questions on the vehicles, let me know in the comments, and I'll do my best to get you answers as soon as possible. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate the support. Let me know if you want to see more comparison videos. Until I see you again, be well, be healthy, be safe.